Throughout the centuries, the development of preservatives has significantly improved. Since 500,000 BCE, when methods of preservatives were first created by using the element of fire in order to preserve and cook food. Through the use of fire and heat, the process of smoking meat was then used as a method of preserving food in the BCE years. Around 12,000 BCE, it started to become commonly known that the sun could be used as a method of drying food easily and efficiently. In the 4th century, it was believed that the use of jam and jelly were utilized frequently by humans in order to maintain their shape. Roughly 4,000 years ago, pickling began in India and slowly became popular in other countries. This method influenced a step into the discovery of pasteurization. Around 1492 AD, fermenting started to be used as a way to preserve milk from cows or goats in order to produce cheese. This became known as the process of changing carbohydrates into a specific acid with the help of microorganisms. Fermenting is primarily used for the production of alcohol. Canning is a preservative method in which food is placed inside an airtight sealed container or jar in order to increase its shelf life. This preservation method was first used in 1750 AD. During 1784 AD, the refrigeration technique came to be a standard way to preserve foods. Foods were placed in low temperature areas which would be used to increase its shelf life. Even in ancient times before refrigeration was invented, humans sufficed with using blocks of ice in order to freeze their food. In 1842 AD, pasteurization became an innovative way of preserving milk by using heat in order to remove any microorganisms or pathogens that were deemed harmful to consume. Throughout 1945 AD, the method of preserving food through vacuum sealing became popular. Throughout the centuries, the development of this method would serve to decrease the contact food would have with oxygen, which would ultimately slow down its decay time. Today's method of preserving food is taken over by the use of chemicals. This is implemented in about every significant item we eat and see in grocery stores today. As the population increases throughout the decades, new methods of preservation continue to come along the way, like pasteurization and freezing. Pasteurization was founded by Louis Pasteur during the 1800s. After the 1800s, the health of the population started to be at risk. This method was used to preserve milk, wine, juice, as well as eggs, spices, nuts, and ice cream. The process of pasteurization was found by accident, since it was not one of Louis Pasteur's first interests. He got interested in dairy products like milk and some other liquids to keep it safe for people to drink and save it for a long period of time. Life before pasteurization was difficult because people couldn't save milk as a liquid for a long period of time since there were no methods on how to do it. Due to the fact that people didn't know about certain bacteria inside milk, many have died because of it. 446 cases of typhoid fever attributed to raw milk products. During the pasteurization process, milk is heated to 145 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. Once milk is taken from the cow, it's kept at 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Milk is then transported to a designated area to be heated up to 161 degrees Fahrenheit, and after 15 seconds, it cools down back to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. Pasteurization destroys harmful pathogens and reduces the risk of us getting sick or possibly dying from raw milk. Back in the early 20th century, cow milk was responsible for around 1/4 of food-borne illnesses. Compared to now, only 3 people die a year from a milk-related cause. Before pasteurization was created, raw milk was everywhere, and supply chains in urban densities increased. Pasteurized milk prevented things like typhoid fever and tuberculosis. The good thing about pasteurization now is that it is more available and it can be transported anywhere around the world. Life before refrigeration was a life where you had to buy fresh food every day to cook just the right amount for that day only. It was a life where you couldn't send flowers to that special someone or medicine to someone far away. Some methods people used back then were storing food in cellars, outdoor window boxes, or even underwater in nearby lakes, streams, or wells. Or perhaps they stored food in a spring house, where cool water from a stream trickled under or between shelved pans and crocks. And the Romans, Greeks, and Hebrews stored their food in large amounts of snow piled into storage pits and covered this cooling agent with insulating material. And in China, ice was harvested and stored to keep their food from spoiling. In the early 1900s, during his travels through North Canada, Birdseye took notice of how the Inuit used ice, wind, and temperature to freeze just caught fish. This discovery led him to his famous flash freezing machine that was used to freeze food quickly. After Birdseye left the Arctic, he then created the quick freeze machine, which was used to freeze vegetables without damaging their cellular structure and preserving its fresh quality. In September 1922, Clarence Birdseye organized his Birdseye Seafood Incorporation company that ended up going broke due to society's hesitance to eat frozen foods. If it wasn't for his wife, Marjorie Post, who was the owner of the General Foods Incorporation, Birdseye wouldn't have been able to continue his plan due to insufficient funds. Refrigeration has forever changed our lives for the better. The basic idea behind refrigeration is to slow down the activity of bacteria so that it takes longer for the bacteria to spoil the food. Clarence Birdseye enhanced the method of freezing food by creating a quick freezing machine that can freeze food easily instead of constantly using an icebox. This new refrigeration process changed the way people ate food forever by making it faster and more reliable to freeze food.